Hey everybody, it's me Frank. I definitely picked a hell of a time to try out travel vlogging. It's probably the worst time. Um, Now, again, in my defense, I mentioned earlier, uh, this pandemic didn't really become a big issue, or it didn't even really come into my radar until I was leaving, and then I heard about it happening in China, and then I was like, okay, well, at the time I didn't have enough information about the virus, and still I feel like a lot of us are lacking information about what's going on. Anyways, I think my current plan, I'm talking about plans a lot, is to actually try to see if my flight will be good to go in May. Gosh, does that make sense though? Because I mean, if my flight's good to go in May, maybe everything else sort of normalizes a bit. I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say what the Vietnamese government will do. So, all right. So right now, you're watching the dude make some ramen. Not just any ramen though. This is jjajangmyeon. Jjajangmyeon. That spelling throws me off. Jjajangmyeon. Sometimes the brand is called Chapagetti. Alright, basically all you do is just boil up some water, boil up the noodles, and you add this sort of a sweet black savory sauce to it. So nothing special here, you just bring water to a boil, you just let it go for 4 minutes, and then you're adding the sauce to it. I'm going to be eating right out of the pot though, so you can just sort of sprinkle on the powder yourself. I just sort of do it slowly, or else it'll clump up, and then you'll have like a powdery bite. Sort of like if you don't mix up your protein shake or if you don't mix it up well, um, it's sort of like that. Just get that powdery sauce powder. Pretty crazy little hot plate here. I've never really used anything like this. You can see it glowing up pretty well. It's called like a ceramic hot plate. Yeah, the ceramic hot plate. Forsey, Germany. These controls here are very awkward to use. You can press it, but it doesn't seem to do a ton half the time. I'm not sure if you saw me struggling with the on-off button. Alright, anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, it's just sort of hard to tell what's going to happen. So actually, I may be wrong. Supposedly flights are outbound. I don't quite know how that works. I don't know how you can have outbound flights without inbound flights. Vietnam is currently allowing its own citizens to return at the time, but I don't know. Part of it too is I just feel like since early February, I felt like it wasn't the responsible decision to travel, and people would ask me that. So like they're like, why are you just in Saigon? And I'm like, well, it's not a good time to travel right now. Let's just sort of stay put and hunker down a little bit. So now, so in my current situation, the only benefit of me being in Vietnam versus being in the States is that when I find language partners to practice with online or through video chat, um, we're in the same time zone. That's about the only convenience here. Because we're about a 12-hour difference from Vietnam to Central Time Zone in the U.S. Um, so that really gives you typically can find time like, I don't know, 7 to 10, because 7 to 10 in the morning over there, 7 to 10 over at night over here, and vice versa. Um, so that's a decent time to communicate with people. It's a time where they're not asleep, and you're not asleep either. So. But honestly, what I'm doing right now, I mean, it's not much. I'm just basically holding up in my room. I'll go out a little bit just to get some supplies, just because I don't see a huge point in overstocking if I might not even be in one place for very long. I do have plenty of water. I've got another jug of this down below, and this apartment complex has quite a bit stored already. I got two out in the hall. Well, I got to share it with the neighbor. I'm sure the neighbor wants one at least too. So yeah. So once you do this too, so unlike other ramens, you're not making like a soup out of it. So you'll drain it, and then you'll add the sort of the black noodle powder. Have you ever seen those black noodles? That's what this is. It's pretty good. Sometimes the dehydrated veggies don't taste that great. But I wanted to try this out just in case I wanted to stock up more on it because it was actually fairly cheap compared to some of the other ramens, which seemed pretty pricey by Vietnamese standards. Like the cup noodles were only like 10,000, so it's about 50 cents for one of these at a convenience store. Yeah, so I do have like some weird thoughts just popping into my head every now and then, just being sort of cooped up. One relates to the United States, where moonshine manufacturing or distilling of moonshine, or basically a distilled hard liquor, is illegal. But if there's a shortage of hand sanitizer or disinfectant, I mean, I think a 90% moonshine alcohol by volume would be effective in that case. So why aren't we allowed to use that? I don't know. I think that's just a poor choice. Obviously, there's probably reasons taxing it. Taxing alcohol is probably one of the main reasons. All right. This thing is going. Now, the nice thing about when you boil water, you typically don't have to worry about it like overheating, especially if it's not pressurized or anything, because all the heat's going to be evaporating. This is probably one of the hardest rolling boils I've had in a while, though. This thing must be pretty high. All right, so I'll probably edit this, and you'll see a lot of jump cuts just because I'm a little distracted while cooking. Plus, not looking at the camera. I'd like to actually look at the camera while I'm talking, which is hard to do while I'm doing this. All right, so that's basically it. You drain it. Typically, you want to leave like a little bit more water in there, but I don't like it that much. Too watery. Here's some oil. It's added. I'm just curious. Maybe it's sesame seed oil? It's not very strong tasting though, so I imagine if it is a sesame seed oil, it's probably not that great. And so just a pro tip, just add however much you want and add it thinly to it. Careful, the steam will make it clump up a little bit at the opening here, but almost looks like truffle powder. And add it to it. Just sort of mix it up a bit. And this way you can add exactly however much you want, however much or however little. Maybe I should have left a little bit more water in there. I do still have some handy. I didn't completely get rid of all of it, so. anyways, I'd like to give a quick, shout out to all my friends who've been offering me and my family help back home. I really appreciate it. I feel like these are things you're not hearing much about in the news. You'll see stores bare and people fighting over toilet paper, but you don't really ever hear about people offering help to each other, especially during these challenging times right now. Overall, I feel like every time I ask my family, they say they're doing fine. I'm doing fine. It's just a weird situation, weird situation that I think is sort of interesting to see how it goes. If I sort of realize what the exact ramifications of my travel would have been, yeah, I would have just stayed home. I just hunkered down and stayed home. Alright, now I didn't use the whole packet, but let's see how it goes. A lot of times you don't need to use the whole packet. Because if you ever felt like a ramen was too salty, just don't use the whole packet. Well, that's basically all I got. I mean, I feel like I'm not really doing much here. No, not doing a whole lot. Just studying, reading, and getting used to cooking for myself, which is embarrassing not to be able to do very well. All right, well, pardon the junk on my mouth, but well, thank you for watching. I'll try to keep everyone updated, and stay safe, everyone. Take care of yourselves, and all right, take care of each other. All right.